Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Stebanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And we see them in today. We got a hell of a show in store for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, as you guys know, the Olympics are currently underway, and Team USA has just recently beaten. What's the team? South Sudan. They beat them. Yes, it was yesterday because I saw the game, but I saw it in bits and pieces because it wasn't really a competitive, game. It really looked like a mismatch. USA was hitting all their threes, and it really wasn't a close game. There were times where South Sudan tried to make it a game, cut it down to 12, cut it down to 14, but it really wasn't a game, and USA came out with a convincing win. When I watched the game, Bam Adebayo was probably the best player that night. Of course, KD, LeBron, and these guys. Anthony Edwards' defense was there. The Team USA was pretty much dialed in. Now, going into these Olympics, some people in media have been saying that this particular team is on par or possibly even better than the 92 Dream Team. Now, if we go back to the 92 Dream Team, just to give you a list of some of the players that made that roster, we had Christian Laettner, we had David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Chris Mullin, Charles Barkley, and Magic Johnson, right? So that was that roster. And in this current roster, I think we have players like, we have players like LeBron James, Drew Holiday, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, and the list goes on and on. I'm sure you guys know who those players are. So what happened? This morning, I came across a conversation that took place on Fox Sports Radio, The Odd Couple, featuring Chris Broussard and a caller. And they were talking about a bunch of things, but it was really centered on the Olympics, and they were talking about various things around that. So the caller calls in, and essentially this gentleman had essentially sent or at Chris Broussard on a tweet on X, and essentially was saying that he believes that the 2012 team was better or could beat the 92 Dream Team. And they get into this interesting back and forth, but I thought that after listening to the entire clip, I thought that Chris Broussard pretty much schooled his caller from a basketball standpoint when he was talking about his point. So for those of you who didn't hear this conversation, it's a bit long, but I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety and then want to come back and really react to what they had to say. Take a listen to them here.
The 2012 Team USA would beat 1992 Dream Team at Chris Broussard. So, Cuffs, just let me quickly go over the roster for 2012.
Please do.
Tyson Chandler and Anthony Davis are the bigs, and Kevin Love, I guess. Well, yep. Just stop at Chandler and Davis. They got to match up with Ewing and David Robinson. I'll take Ewing and David Robinson. Power forwards, you got Kevin Love.
Prime Kevin Love.
Man, prime Kevin Love is getting demolished by prime Charles Barkley.
Or Karl Malone.
Malone. Absolutely. And then I'm not going to go over everybody, but let me read. I'll give you the rest of the name. Kevin Durant, that's fine. LeBron, great in his prime. Russell Westbrook, not really the setting for him. You got to admit that, but he's on there. Darren Williams was great at that time. Andre Iguodala, Kobe, James Harden, Chris Paul, and Carmelo Anthony. That's a squad, but why are they beating the 92 Dream Team?
I think the 2012 squad, first of all, it's a lot of variables. It's all hypothetical. I like to have fun with this stuff. I'm saying in a 7-game series scenario, 7 games, not a 1-game scenario, 7-game series anywhere in the world, right? Neutral court. Whenever you have LeBron James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, right, and Kevin Durant, I'm going to stop at those two guys. That right there alone would be the best duo we've ever seen on the court. Versatility-wise, the length, the IQ. I feel like KD would equalize or neutralize Michael Jordan. Right?
Here's the problem with KD. Like, because I think you could argue Magic and Kareem. Now, Kareem was at the tail end of his prime when Magic was earlier in his career. But Kevin Durant, I think you'll admit this, and Durant's great. They're all great, so I'm not arguing against his greatness. Physical defense bothers him. Like, we saw it against Boston.
Does it really, or is that a narrative?
Yeah.
Does it really?
No, I'm going to tell you why. Boston and Kyrie was on the floor with him. So it ain't like you didn't have any other players that the defense had to worry about. They got physical when he was in Brooklyn with him in that sweep in the playoffs. Kevin Durant was struggling to get the ball up court. He was turning the ball over uncharacteristically. He shot in the 30%, something in 30%, under 40%. Jason Tatum outplayed him. And all they did was get physical, kind of like 90s basketball. So this notion, Durant would have been a superstar back then, don't get me wrong. But this notion that, oh my gosh, they wouldn't have known what to do with Durant. Nah, they would have got physical with Durant because you were allowed to back then. And he still would have been great, but Chris, he wouldn't have been any better than he is right now.
Let's put the puzzle together. Like the Avengers. Who is your 5 you're putting out there against not only the 2012 team, but even the team now, Sean? Like the 2024, this team we're watching right now, I agree with y'all. They have to get it done. They can't choke. They got to go out here and get the gold medal first and foremost.
See, Cuff, not to cut you off.
Look at the pros they're playing against. They're not playing against Angola in '92, who were happy to be there signing autographs. They
playing against South Sudan that just started playing basketball. This is their first Olympic basketball team.
There's pros out there. There's pros.
A couple dudes that had a cup of coffee in the NBA.
So, Cuff, let me ask you this.
Rest of them are D1 players.
Basketball's about matchups. Who's your starting 5 on that 12 team? If you're playing the dream team, who's your starting 5?
I'm playing LeBron James at point guard, and then I'm putting Kobe at the 2, KD at the 3. We going Carmelo Anthony. I don't know why all of a sudden everybody acting like Carmelo is not a top 10 all-time leading scorer, one of the top 3 pure scorers ever, one of the greatest Olympic players ever.
Top 3 pure scorers ever? Yeah. I mean, look, Melo's great. I don't want to disparage Melo, but you tripping.
Player currently. Ask the current players, Chris.
Carmelo Anthony is not one of the top 3 purest scorers ever. I mean, stop that.
Top 5?
No.
Oh, my God.
Melo is great. Again, I don't want to disparage Melo, but you're going too far. I mean, come on.
We're talking international FIBA basketball rules. We saw what Melo did.
Oh, so you're not talking about – I'm talking about NBA players. I'm talking about NBA career.
Yeah. But
so you're saying he's one of the top 5 pure scorers ever?
Yes. Melo finished like
he didn't even shoot 45% for his career.
He was high value, Chris. You know that. He was a high value guy.
That's a problem. That's a problem if you're high volume and you ain't efficient. That's a negative.
So here's my 5. Kobe, Bron, Durant, and Melo, and I'm gonna go with prime Blake Griffin at my 5.
So watch this. So watch this. Here's where I feel like, and the rules matter too. Like what rules we playing? We playing 92.
FIBA.
Okay,
now,
FIBA
I'm
rules.
Looking at. When Blake was on that team?
I don't think so. I think it was Tyson Chandler. And somebody else.
Blake wasn't on that team. I mean,
Blake was on the team, man.
I'm looking at look up the roster. Rob G, look up the roster.
That works in our favor even more, Chris, because they're going to counter with the Admiral, Karl Malone, Pippen, Jordan, Magic. And y'all got Malone might score 120 points that game.
No, Malone is getting space off. Here's my point with
I'm putting Barkley in over Malone.
Well, either way.
Barkley and Malone would get played off the floor with Durant and Bron in them, that spacing. I'm telling you. They will put those guys in high pick and rolls and destroy them.
Blake was replaced by Anthony Davis because of injury. Here's this, to me, Cuffs, this should have been your argument. Bird was a shell of himself.
Yeah, he was washed.
He never played again right after that. And he wasn't practicing, didn't play much. And Magic was a year removed from the NBA.
Washed. He wasn't
Magic was a year removed from the NBA. But here's the problem, and you might disagree with this, Cuff. Players back then played team basketball better than they do today. Now most players grow up playing in the NBA. Most 1 or 2 man basketball. ISO, they're great with the ball in their hands, not so great without it in their hands. Or high pick and roll, spread the floor. That's 1 or 2 man ball. Back then, they played 5-man basketball, including Jordan. Like, all of them played 5-man basketball. That's a more effective way of playing than 1 or 2 man.
So you heard the exchange there. You heard the back and forth. And they kind of went back and forth on it. Now, there's an interesting thing here, and I want to see if I can actually find it. I'm trying to figure out a list. Okay, great. So there's an interesting thing here that I really want to get into. Whenever people talk about the 92 Dream Team, they usually talk about it from the standpoint of, oh, those guys are a bunch of old guys. They're a bunch of old guys. They were old as dirt. They were old as dirt, right? So I want to go through some of the ages of the players on that team. Christian Laettner was 22 years old. David Robinson was 26. Patrick Ewing was 29. Larry Bird was 35. Scottie Pippen was 26. Michael Jordan was 29. Clyde Drexler was 30. Karl Malone was 28. John Stockton was 30. Chris Mullin was 28. Charles Barkley was 29. And Magic Johnson was 32. Let's look at this current roster. Stephen Curry is 36. Anthony Edwards is 32. LeBron James is 39. Kevin Durant is 35. Derek White is 30. Tyrese Halliburton is 24. Jason Tatum is 26. Joel Embiid is 30. Drew Holiday is 34. Bam Adebayo is 27. Anthony Davis is 31. And Devin Booker is 27. Now, if we look at the total 30-year-olds on that Dream Team, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 players above the age of 30. On the current team, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players above the age of 30. So those players were actually on average younger. If I took an average of the average age, it would be a younger team. But whenever we talk about the Dream Team, we always hear people talk about, well, Larry Bird was old as dirt. Larry Bird was 35 years old. Stephen Curry right now is older than Larry Bird on that team. Stephen Curry is older than Magic Johnson on that team. Magic Johnson in 92 was what, 32? Kevin Durant is older than Magic Johnson. LeBron James is older than Magic Johnson. Michael Jordan was in his 20s. 29, if I'm not mistaken. 29. Clyde was 30. Karl Malone was 28. So that team was even younger, which is a perspective that no one talks about. And given the fact that that was a younger team, off that alone, I'm going to go with them because they're younger. They're younger. They're more youthful players. So if you're picking the 2024 team to the 92 team, they're younger. Now, let's look at the 2012 team. That particular team, let me see if they had their ages. They had Tyson Chandler was 29. Kevin Durant was 23. LeBron James was 27. Russell Westbrook was 23. Darren Williams was 28. Andrew Iguodala was 28. Kobe Bryant was 33. Kevin Love was 23. James Harden was 22. Chris Paul was 27. Anthony Davis was 19. And Carmelo Anthony was 28. Now, that team, on average, the average age is younger than the Dream Team. Sure. But they still had some all-time great players on that team. Let's look at the top 75 guys the 2012 team had. Kevin Durant, who was not as good at 23, was like probably 26, but they have Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Kobe Bryant, James Harden, Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, and Carmelo Anthony. That's 8 guys. If we look at the Dream Team, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, that's 6. Drexler, that's 7. Malone, that's 8. Stockton, that's 9. Barkley, that's 10. Johnson, that's 11. So that team had more top 75 guys. And if you listen to Chris Broussard's argument at the very end, he brought up a very pertinent point, which was those guys were more accustomed to playing basketball in terms within a system. Whereas now, guys is high pick and roll. He explained it to you. And I thought that That was a very good point. But the caller, I think, was calling in trying to say, well, look at the star power. Look at the star power. He brought up KD and all of those guys. But those guys have players that are ranked higher all time on that roster than they do on this roster. Like, that's just the reality of it. Now, of course, you had LeBron, you had Kobe. Those are special exceptions on that team. But that's where it stops. The high guys that are ranked on that 2012 team are LeBron and Kobe. From that point forward, you have a bunch of top 15 guys. So to me, I think Chris Broussard made a pretty good argument for the Dream Team, but that's just his point. I tend to agree with him on that. So the question to the audience is simply this. The 1992 versus the 2012 team, which team are you picking? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments. We catch you on the next show. Peace.